A Muay Thai master that's too strong to compete, an arm wrestler with the strongest right arm on the planet, and a boxer who has the deadliest punch in history. Those are only three of the strongest people I gotta show you, from unbeatable all the way down to a fighter that's impossible to hit. This is Lordzilla Chumpator, and he's got some of the fastest reflexes you'll ever see. Yeah, the dude's untouchable. I mean, while most fighters are battling for survival, Lordzilla's just vibing. He's slipping punches like it's nothing, dodging kicks that should have sent him to sleep, and clowning opponents like they're in slow motion. In fact, he was so good, he went 4 full years without taking a single L.
At one point in your career, you had a 100-fight winning streak.
That actually happened. And not only did he almost never lose, but he walked away with 195 wins on his record. Damn, that's not your average fighter right there. And neither is this next guy. Because what if I told you that there's a 5-time world's strongest man that's dropping bodies in the cage? I'm talking about Mariusz Pudzianowski. See, back in the early 2000s, he was the most dominant strongman on the planet. Mariusz could lift anything and make it look easy. But what really surprised everyone was how quick he was on his feet. Because normally a person that big isn't built for speed. But Mariusz was different. Yeah, he could sprint, jump, and move like an athlete despite weighing 320 pounds. I mean, we're talking about a guy who could squat 840 pounds for fun and once pulled an 88,000-pound plane like it was nothing. So after dominating strongman competitions for over a decade, it was obvious that Mariusz was still hungry for more. And that's when he figured it was time to put all that explosiveness to work and do something no one saw coming. He traded his strongman trophies for MMA gloves and shocked the world. Because not only did he smoke his very first opponent in just 43 seconds, but in his second fight, he straight up bodied the guy for 2 full rounds. Jesus Christ! This man really went from deadlifting Atlas stones to dropping grown-ass men nearly half his age, all while competing at the highest level. Now that man is living large. But there's a man from Eastern Europe that's larger than life. Meet Levon Shaganashvili, aka the Georgian Hulk. And he's got the strongest right arm on the planet. Yeah, at 6'3" and weighing 400 pounds, this man is an absolute monster. I'm talking 25-inch biceps, forearms bigger than the average person's thigh, and hands the size of dinner plates. Hell, the dude can curl 369 pounds, which makes sense, considering he eats up to 7,000 calories a day. That's ridiculous. But the real danger isn't the diet, it's those hands. You see, after years of grinding in the gym, Levon looked at those hands and knew they were wasted on just lifting. So he hit the table and started arm wrestling, quickly climbing the ranks as the most feared right-hander on the planet. I mean, this dude was so freakishly strong, he was snapping arm wrestling handles and bending steel bars made for elite athletes. And as time went on, he only got stronger. Strong enough to stack multiple World Arm Wrestling Federation titles, several European championships, and became the world's arm wrestling champion 7 times. And the craziest part? He's still at the top of his game. What a legend. And if we're talking legends, we gotta mention Mirko Cro Cop, because he bullied the entire heavyweight division with just one move. See, Cro Cop wasn't just some fighter off the street. He was a former Special Forces anti-terror officer who walked into kickboxing and MMA with something he'd been perfecting all his life. A kick so dangerous, there was no coming back from it. Yeah, and over the years, he turned that thing into a global execution notice, to the point where even fighters had a saying for it.
Right kick, hospital, left kick, cemetery, and he has sent many opponents to the MMA mausoleum with that left missile.
There it is. Holy crap! Cro Cop went on a killing spree. He took on everyone the divisions had to offer by dropping them one by one, which is exactly why he walked away with 52 career knockouts and even once ended a fight with a single head kick in 46 seconds. Yeah, that guy's a cheat code. And so is this next fighter, because even though it doesn't look like it, he was a fat man with a kill shot. This is Eric Ash, a fighter from Jasper, Alabama, and one of the greatest all-around heavyweights of all time. You see, back in the 90s, Eric was just an ordinary factory worker, competing in tough man contests on the side for fun, when something crazy happened. This 5'11", 300-pound powerhouse started knocking people out so fast, promoters had no choice but to keep bringing him back. It was unbelievable. And the the world agreed, because out of 91 boxing matches, the dude won 77 of them. I mean, at one point, he even went 6 whole years undefeated. 6 years of terrorizing the division. And he got so good, they literally created a whole new championship belt just for him. The IBA Super Heavyweight title. But even despite all the success, Eric always said he was a fighter, not a boxer. So in 2003, he switched over to kickboxing and MMA instead, and turned into an absolute savage, taking on fights with anyone, and eventually landing himself a spot at WrestleMania in front of thousands of people. Damn, that place was packed. But imagine if all those people were subscribed to the channel. We'd be unstoppable, So what are you doing? Subscribe. But if we're talking unstoppable, we gotta mention the man with a punch so powerful, it set a world record. Francis Ngannou. You see, Francis isn't just strong. He's scientifically proven to be stronger than anyone else. Let me explain. This is the hardest recorded punch in fight history, measuring in at over 129,000 units, which, in case you were wondering, is the equivalent of getting hit by a small car going full speed. Yeah, one punch from this man is basically a car crash.
Look at that, the fight's over. Stipe's done.
Man, that's one dude you don't want to mess with. But there are a lot more dangerous people coming up. Like this fighter that was so overpowered, he forced rule changes. The most feared wrestler in sports history. Or this boxer with a 90% knockout rate. And we'll get to all that and much more. But first, we gotta talk about someone that's even more terrifying. Cause Francis might have the most power, but Jon Jones, he's never lost to anyone but himself.
Deep inside yourself, are you a good guy trying to be bad, or are you a bad guy trying to be good?
That's a good question. I think I am a bad guy that's trying to be good.
You see, this man has had the most dominant career in UFC history, and it all started in 2011, when he became the youngest champion ever at just 23 years old. But that was only the beginning, because over the next decade, nobody could figure the guy out. I mean, he'd hit spinning elbows they never saw coming, take opponents down whenever he felt like, and pick them apart from any distance. No joke, the dude's only loss on record is a disqualification for, something that's literally legal today. Yeah, inside the cage, Jon was untouchable, but outside...
This guy's got a lot of demons, man. A lot of demons.
Star fighter Jon Jones.
Jon Jones.
Jon Jones has been arrested in Las Vegas.
The 34-year-old has been charged with misdemeanor battery, domestic violence, and damaging a vehicle.
I hate you.
From failed drug tests to legal troubles to getting stripped of his titles, Jon wasn't losing to anyone but himself. But a few years later, he came back with a vengeance. He moved up to heavyweight, put his opponent to sleep in 1 round, and walked out as the heavyweight champion. Damn! Turns out the only person who could stop Jon Jones is Jon Jones. But look, as unbeatable as he is, there's actually one man who makes him look beatable.
Russia's Alexander Karelin has won 2 straight Olympic gold medals in Greco-Roman wrestling and hasn't lost a match in 9 years.
Yeah. Meet Alexander Karelin, a 6'3" beast with 887 wins under his belt and only 2 losses. You see, at the end of the last century, Alex was in a league of his own, cause for 13 years straight, he didn't lose a single point while competing, to the point where people actually started calling him the experiment because they were convinced he wasn't human. I mean, this dude was picking up 300-pound wrestlers and tossing them like ragdolls. Yeah, and eventually that move became so infamous, it even got its own name, the Karelin lift, a move so feared that even Olympic gold medalists call it a win if they simply avoided it. So throughout his wrestling career, he ran through everybody, dropping heavyweights and making world champions look like amateurs. And Alex continued to dominate his entire career, winning Olympic gold medals in 1988, 92, and 96, and becoming the greatest Greco-Roman wrestler of all time. Man, he made that look easy. But this next dude's making boxing look easy, because he's got one of the highest knockout rates in history. Yeah, this is Tommy Morrison, and whenever he landed a left hook, it was lights out. But let's be real, it's not like he's the first boxer with one-punch power. So what the hell made this dude different? Well, he was fast, explosive, stupidly strong, and could hit his opponents from angles they never saw coming. And all that was a recipe for ending fights early. And it worked, because out of his 48 career wins, 42 of them ended in knockouts. That means 87% of the time, he was making dudes see stars. To give you an idea, the average heavyweight knockout rate in boxing is 49%, so other boxers aren't even close. And if that wasn't crazy enough, in 1993 he won the WBO Heavyweight Championship, cementing his legacy as one of the hardest hitters in boxing history. Damn, bro didn't just win fights, he cut them short. But look, I think it's time we talk about the fighter that was literally too good to compete. A man who dominated so much, the only way to stop him was to change the rules of the sport. This is Buakaw Bonchamek. In over 3 decades and nearly 500 fights, he became one of the greatest strikers in martial arts history. But here's the thing, he wasn't some big-ass heavyweight, just bullying people with size. In fact, Buakaw was actually pretty small compared to most of the dudes he fought. But even with all that stacked against him, the man was a killing machine. You see, his entire strategy was built on forcing guys into spots where they couldn't protect themselves. Yeah, my boy would snap their balance with one shot, yank them back into range, and finish them off before they can even breathe again. And after years of doing that repeatedly, they hit him with a hammer and nerfed his ass. Yeah, they limited knee strikes, banned elbows, and killed prolonged clinching. Basically everything that made him unstoppable, stripping him of his strongest weapons and forcing him to start from scratch. But despite all that, Buakaw still became the organization's first 2-time middleweight king and went on to conquer the world stage. Meaning he wasn't just winning anymore, he was straight up murdering the competition. And the numbers back it up, because over his career, he went on to rack up 243 wins, including 74 knockouts. Now that's crazy. But as crazy as that is, we've seen even crazier stuff pulled off by elite special forces, like being burned alive, target practice with humans, and hot potato with a live grenade. Look, if you want to hear more, then you need to click on this video right here.